I pulled the real recall records on 5 tire brands that millions of drivers have mounted on their own vehicles without a second thought. And the uncomfortable finding wasn't that cheap. No-name tires are the problem. It's that some of the most catastrophic tire failures in American history happened on brands sitting in your local shop's showroom right now. A tire's danger doesn't announce itself on the sidewall. It shows up at highway speed, when it's too late to check. This matters because most drivers choose tires the way they choose almost nothing else on their car. By price, by whatever's in stock, or by a brand name they vaguely trust because it's been around forever. The tire industry knows this, and it knows that a name like Firestone or Goodyear carries decades of goodwill that survives even a documented deadly defect, because most buyers never actually look up a brand's recall history before handing over their credit card. Firestone's first entry on this list goes back to 1978, when the company recalled 14.5 million tires, the largest tire recall in American history at the time. The cause was excess adhesive used to bind the rubber to the internal steel belts, which led to more than 500 documented tread separations and blowouts. Firestone paid a $500,000 federal fine specifically for concealing the safety problem rather than disclosing it, and the financial damage was severe enough that it led directly to the company's 1990 merger with Bridgestone for $2.6 billion. The counter will tell you this was ancient history, a different company under different ownership. I'll tell you the underlying failure, tread separation from manufacturing defects, would resurface at Firestone again, in a way that cost far more than money. Verdict: Firestone's first major recall wasn't a fluke, it was a preview. Firestone appears a second time on this list, because the preview came true. In August 2000, Bridgestone Firestone recalled 6.5 million ATX, NHTSA, and Wilderness AT tires, most of them original equipment on the Ford Explorer, after NHTSA investigators linked tread separation failures to the tires peeling apart at highway speed, sending vehicles into rollovers. At the announcement, the count stood at 46 deaths. Within a year, as more claims were reviewed, the number publicly reported by news outlets covering the case exceeded 200 deaths and hundreds of injuries, concentrated heavily in hot weather states including Texas, Florida, California, and Arizona. Congressional hearings followed, and the investigation revealed defect rates that varied enormously depending on which specific plant manufactured the tire, with the Decatur, Illinois facility singled out in the recall. The counter will tell you Firestone has completely reformed its manufacturing standards since 2000. I'll tell you that's likely true today, and it's also exactly what a company says after 200 people are gone, and the only path forward is rebuilding trust from zero. Verdict: this recall didn't just cost Firestone money. It rewrote how NHTSA investigates tire defects going forward. Goodyear's entry on this list stayed hidden for nearly 3 decades, and that's what makes it different from the rest. The Goodyear G159 tire, size 2570R 22.5, and originally built for delivery trucks before being sold for use on Class A motorhomes, was linked in court documents spanning 1996 to 2015 to tread separations and blowouts across 17 different motorhome brands and 39 models. NHTSA's investigation, only opened in 2022 after years of sealed litigation, found the tire generated temperatures exceeding 200 degrees Fahrenheit at just 50 miles per hour, and internal testing that Goodyear never released showed the tire blowing out at 75 miles per hour, a speed well within normal highway driving. In 2024, Goodyear finally recalled more than 170,000 of these tires, produced between 1996 and 2003. Some of which were still in active use as spares or mounted tires more than 20 years after manufacture. The counter will tell you this tire was discontinued years ago and isn't your concern today. I'll tell you thousands of these tires are still sitting in garages and on trailers as unused spares, and federal law makes it illegal to sell a recalled tire, yet they still turn up on online marketplaces. Verdict: Goodyear's most dangerous tire wasn't hidden by bad luck, it was hidden by sealed court records for over 25 years. Notice the pattern here. None of these 3 companies are obscure discount brands. They're the names printed on the side of tires millions of people trust, specifically because they're familiar. Prinx Chengshan Tire North America shows up on this list for a different, more recent reason. In December 2024, the company notified NHTSA of a recall covering 541,632 units of its High Country and Fortune Tormenta tires, sold as replacement tires, and labeled specifically as snow tires. The recall existed because these tires, despite their snow-rated labeling, failed to provide sufficient traction in actual snow conditions, meaning a driver relying on the label to make a genuinely dangerous winter drive could be trusting a rating the tire simply didn't earn. The counter will tell you a traction rating problem isn't as dramatic as a tread separation. I'll tell you a snow tire that can't stop you on ice during a genuine winter storm is a life safety failure with a lower body count only because most buyers haven't needed the tire to perform yet. Verdict: 500,000 tires sold a promise their actual grip couldn't back up. BFGoodrich, a brand owned and operated by Michelin North America, rounds out this list with a 2015 recall covering approximately 104,000 commercial T/A all-season and rugged terrain T/A tires, primarily mounted on commercial light trucks, heavy-duty vans, small RVs, and 3/4 and 1-ton pickups. The defect involved rapid air loss in a limited number of units, a failure mode that, on a heavily loaded commercial vehicle at highway speed, carries real risk of sudden loss of control. The counter will tell you Michelin's ownership means rigorous quality control across all its brands. I'll tell you rigorous quality control didn't stop 104,000 defective units from reaching commercial vehicles carrying real cargo and real passengers before the problem was caught. Verdict: even a Michelin-owned brand isn't automatically exempt from a real, documented safety recall. Before naming the 3 actually worth buying, here's the honest criteria that matter far more than brand prestige. The first is recall responsiveness, meaning how quickly and completely a manufacturer acts once a defect pattern emerges, rather than fighting NHTSA or burying it in litigation. The second is manufacturing consistency across plants, since several of the recalls above stemmed specifically from one facility producing defective units, while others from the same brand did not. The third is independent test performance, specifically wet and dry braking distances published by organizations like Consumer Reports and Tire Rack, which test tires under standardized conditions no manufacturer controls. Michelin earns a genuine recommendation here, and not blindly. Michelin has consistently ranked at or near the top of independent wet braking and tread life testing across multiple Consumer Reports comparison cycles, and the company's overall recall history, including the 2015 BFGoodrich recall covered above, shows a pattern of catching and correcting defects before they reach Firestone-level fatality counts. Verdict: Michelin's price premium buys real, independently measurable performance, not just a name. Continental also earns a place on this list, built on consistently strong independent braking test results across its passenger and all-season lines, and a recall history that, while not spotless, including manufacturing corrections tied to mold defects identified in 2023 and 2024, has generally been caught and addressed before reaching the road in significant volume. Verdict: Continental's recalls have tended to be caught at the manufacturing stage, not the highway fatality stage. Bridgestone, despite carrying the Firestone name through its 1990 merger, deserves a place here specifically because of what changed after 2000. The company's post-recall manufacturing overhaul and increased NHTSA oversight since that era has coincided with a meaningfully cleaner safety record for its core Bridgestone-branded lines over the last 2 decades, verified through the same independent test bodies referenced above. Verdict: sometimes the company that caused the worst recall in your memory is also the one that's been forced to get the most serious about never repeating it. An independent tire safety investigator I spoke with, who has reviewed NHTSA complaint data professionally for insurance litigation, told me almost exactly what this research kept confirming. Brand reputation and actual safety performance are only loosely correlated, and the single best 5 minutes any driver can spend before buying tires is looking up the exact model, not just the brand name, on NHTSA's own public recall database. That matched every documented case in this list, since in nearly every one, the danger lived in a specific model and plant, not the brand as a whole. If you're deciding what to actually do with this, check any Firestone ATX, ATXII, or older Wilderness AT tires, still sitting as spares in a garage or trailer, since decades-old recalled tires still turn up unknowingly in daily use. Avoid any Goodyear G159 tire entirely if you own or rent a Class A motorhome, and confirm your RV's tire model directly, rather than assuming your dealer already checked. Skip Prinx Chengshan High Country or Fortune Tormenta tires if you were counting on their snow rating for a real winter drive. Buy Michelin if independently verified wet braking performance matters more to you than price. Consider Continental for a strong balance of test performance and value. And don't write off Bridgestone simply because of the name's history, since its post-2000 manufacturing standards are exactly what that recall forced into existence. What this research revealed isn't that tire brands are lying to you about safety across the board. It revealed that a brand's decades of goodwill can outlast the exact defect that killed people, simply because most drivers never check the model-specific record before buying. Before your next set of tires, ask yourself a sharper question than, is this a trusted brand? Have I actually looked up this specific model on NHTSA.gov in the last 5 minutes? Tell me which of these surprised you more: Goodyear's G159 staying hidden in court records for over 2 decades, or finding out even a Michelin-owned brand had its own 104,000-unit recall.